Hi everybody, FPL Witty here, back out here in the outdoors, back in the Yorkshire countryside, back out here for another of my regular FPL videos. So try and keep these to 15 minutes. Normally try and have a walk down the waterside, but it's a bit windy this morning, so if you want to hear what I'm talking about this week, you might just have to have a sit up and have a chat, so rest my legs this morning. So hope you're well, hope you had a good game week 21. It seems so long ago, doesn't it? But we've got this 15-minute slot. We'll try and look back and look forward. So certainly loads to think about as we approach game week 22, which starts on Friday. So we've had all sorts happening really. We've had what seems like an age, doesn't it, really, between game week 21 and 22. It'll only be an 11-day gap, but it seems a lot more. But we've had loads of EFL Cup ties, semi-finals, 2 legs. We've had the FA Cup 4th round taking place. We've had the transfer window. We've had Cancelo and Doherty leaving the Premier League. We've had Frank Lampard sacked. So it seems absolutely loads happening really since we had game week 21. So but we'll have a quick look back. But we'll try and keep that fairly brief because there's certainly loads to talk about as we enter into game week 22. So a quick look back at game week 21. It was quite an eventful week really. It was the week where Erling Haaland scored a hat-trick against Wolves. He was only on the field 60 minutes. So that was a bit of a kick really for those who had been starting to gamble on Haaland. He's certainly dropped off a little bit really since the restart with his goals, so a few starting to take him on for captaincy. Perhaps people who are playing catch up a bit with ranks as well, but certainly a big hat-trick from Erling Haaland. And it was a particularly annoying one really, I think, to those who triple captained Erling Haaland the game week before, game week 20, when he had his double game week. When of course he just got 8 points, he just got 1 goal against those 2 game weeks, 1 goal from those 2 games. So for him to then get a hat-trick in just 60 minutes when he only got 1 goal across 180 minutes, so an air of frustration there perhaps for triple captain as the week before, but certainly a big win for City, keeping up the pressure on Arsenal, who were involved in probably the game of the weekend really. They beat Manchester United. Arsenal beat Manchester United 3-2. Manchester United showed a lot of spirit to hang in there, but it was a late goal for Arsenal. So there's 2 goals from Nketiah, 1 from Saka, as Arsenal beat Manchester United. And they're certainly looking very, very strong really, aren't they, at the top? They just keep passing every test that we put in front of them, and it's looking like a bit of a 2-horse race now, I think, isn't it? But yeah, they were the big 2 games. But we had Newcastle keeping a 6 successive clean sheets. So if you're on that Newcastle double clean sheet, you'd certainly be laughing over the last few weeks. Just never looked like conceding, although of course they did in the EFL Cup, didn't they? But it didn't matter. But that was one of 3 0-0 draws, that Newcastle Palace game. We had a goalless draw between Liverpool and Chelsea, as Liverpool still looking a bit out of sorts. And we had 0-0 between Brentford and Leeds in a game that perhaps looked like a bit of a goal fest on paper, but it wasn't. We had Harry Kane scoring again, so certainly plenty going on. So a quick look at my game week 21, and then we'll look ahead, because as I said, there's loads to think about now. So I had a pretty good game week 21 really. I got 83 points. I got 7 returning players. I mean, the returns of Haaland and Rashford and Trippier are always fairly ranked neutral. I had small contributions from Kane and De Bruyne, but the 2 things that were differential for me this week, I managed to get the clean sheet from Akanji for Manchester City at a time when other Manchester City defenders like Cancelo and Ake and Lewis all missed out, and the auto subs, a lot of those went on to Luke Shaw. He was a popular auto sub, so that worked out really well. That was a bit of a priceless clean sheet from Akanji for me, who I brought in 3 weeks ago for Cancelo. And then the big one really was the choice of keeper. I played Kepa over Ward, which which was a bit of a 50-50. I think Ward had the better clean sheet odds, but the odds suggested that neither would keep a clean sheet, so I went for a few safe points for Kepa. So that was a big swing really in my favour, a bit fortunate, so a massive 9 points really for Kepa for me this week, so that was enough for a green arrow for me, and it took me up from about 170k to 140k, so it was a good week for me, just outside the top 1%, so with a lot of blanks and doubles to come, that's a pretty good place to be, so I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, we've got lots and lots to think about. I mean, the importance of the EFL Cup games and FA Cup games that we've had are quite significant really. So what we do know now, barring a Forest 4-0 win at Manchester United in the second leg, which looks extremely unlikely of course, we now know that 4 teams will blank in game week 25 when the EFL Cup semi-final takes place. So those 4 teams are going to be Manchester United, Newcastle, Brighton and Brentford. They're all going to blank in game week 25, and that's quite significant really when you start to look at those popular players from those teams who we've got. I've been quite cautious really because they've looked like being the 4 teams that will blank ever since the draw came out, so I've been staying away from overindulging really in Newcastle and Brighton and Brentford players. I've only got 4 of those players, and that'll be 3 by game week 23, so I'm quite well prepared for game week 25, but you need to be a bit careful of that game week 25 and have a look how many players you've got blanking, and you certainly don't want to be buying too many of those players right now. And then the FA Cup results, they're quite important because they tell us which teams are likely to be blanking in game week 28 when we got the FA Cup quarter-finals taking place. The 5th round won't impact us because that's midweek, but game week 28 will, and we've got the 5th round draw, so certainly a good indication that we're probably only going to get 5 games taking place in game week 28, so we don't have to think about that too closely at the moment. But what it means is that the free hit could well come into play in game week 28, so another reason why you need to perhaps not be getting stuck in the game week 25 free hit and think about those teams who are blanking in 25. So certainly lots to think about, but what we've got now is a double game weeks in game week 22 and game week 23 now, so we've got a double game week coming up now in game week 22 between Manchester United and Leeds. They each double, so I think most people will be trying to get 3 Manchester United players into their team now for game week 22. I think the popular 3, if you can get to them for free, will be definitely be Rashford and Shaw, who most people seem to have got. But if you can get Bruno Fernandes in for free, that'll be popular this week. And if you can't, probably get a second Manchester United defender. That'll be a popular play as well. Whether or not you want any Leeds players in for the double, I'll probably be staying away from Leeds players, but perhaps Rodrigo, popular cheapie, non-Toad they call him, may be popular, but I'm going to try and stay away from players from lesser teams who I perhaps don't want to keep beyond the double game week, so I'll probably be avoiding Leeds personally. But certainly my aim will be to try and get Bruno in, and I'll probably be doing the hokey cokey of Kevin De Bruyne to Bruno, so I've got a triple up of Rashford, Bruno and Shaw. That'll be my plan, and then perhaps reversing that the week after when Kevin De Bruyne has his double instead. So that probably is my plan. I think that'd be quite popular, but it does use up 2 transfers of course, so it's something that could be quite team dependent, and it depends perhaps what importance you've got with other transfers that you need to make, if you're stuck with players like Cancelo and other players, if you've got a few injured players, so that could be quite team dependent of course. But my plan will be to get 3 Manchester United players out this week, and then I'll be able to flip it and get 3 Manchester City the week after, and I'll be bringing a third Arsenal player in this week, so I'll be bringing in probably Ødegaard this week for Almiron, which gets rid of a Newcastle player and gets me an extra Arsenal player. So So the way my plan sits together, I'll have 3 United, 3 City, 3 Arsenal for their doubles, and I'll only have 3 blanking players in game week 25. So my planning looks okay on paper, but we'll see how that one plays out over the coming weeks. But in terms of the immediate week, we've got this game week 22 double now for Manchester United. So a big question is going to be whether or not to play the triple captain on Marcus Rashford, or of course you might want to play it on Bruno Fernandes if you're playing a bit of catch up, you want a bit of a differential, want to take a bit of a risk. So that might be something you want to think about. But then you've got to balance that with the fact that Erling Haaland has a double game week in game week 23 when he plays Aston Villa at home, which looks very attractive, but he also has Arsenal away. So it's whether or not you want to punt on triple captain on Rashford in game week 22 or Erling Haaland in 23, and I think that'd be a big decision for many. I already played mine on Erling Haaland in game week 20, so that's not a decision for me, but I'll be making sure I at least captain Rashford this week, then at least I'll get 2/3 of his points, and the damage on the face of it should be quite minimal, because of course I've already gained 8 points by the points I got on standard captainers for Erling Haaland in game week 20. So yeah, there's lots to think about, but certainly try and get that Manchester United double up if you can, but give a lot of thought to Manchester City and Arsenal and their double game week in 23, and particularly your teams who blank in game week 25. So if you could certainly hold off on those players and start getting those players out, because what you want to try and do is avoid a free hit in game week 25 if you've got only 2 missing games and you've got 5 missing games potentially in the FA Cup quarter-final week. If you want to follow my team a bit more closely, you can do so. I'll be doing these videos once a week, but you can follow me on Twitter at FPL Witty, and I do write weekly articles for Fantasy Football Geek website, so you can follow me on there as well. So certainly wish you all the best of luck with this week in game week 22. Hope you managed to nail a green arrow and a big score. I think I'll leave it there. I'm coming up close to my 15 minutes. I'm conscious I'm going to get blown away in this West Yorkshire countryside wind. Don't want to end up in the lake this morning. Certainly something you wouldn't want to see this morning. So I wish you good luck. Hope you get a green arrow. I'll be back next week. So as they say in Barnsley, I'll see it.